Good evening, welcome to DecodedSeries.com. This is our special series called Decoded Biblical Series, and we are reading the manuscript of this particular journal. We're now up to part 5, and this is chapter 2 of the journal, the Garden of Eden. In this chapter, God is referred to as the Lord God. This is a story about the creation of Adam and Eve and their new home, paradise. It is obvious to the reader this is a different author from the one in the 7 days of creation, or for that matter, a different God. This is because God is now referred to as Lord God. It is also worth noting, as I venture through the Bible, you will notice God updates how his name is to be said. God repeatedly tells his people, "You will now refer to me as this new name," or "I did not tell you, your ancestors, this is my whole name," and so on. Therefore, this suggests either this God expands upon his name, or there is an evolution of gods who take on the seat of creator as one succeeds the other. Also in this chapter it states when God created the universe, there were no plants on the earth, and there was no one to cultivate it. This is the reasoning for creating Adam and Eve. In the 7 days of creation, God had included these points, and the universe was completed by the 7th day. This is a major contradiction between the two creation stories. The Lord God formed man from the soil and breathed life into him, giving him life. Then the Lord God planted a garden of Eden in the east and put the man he formed there. Then he made beautiful trees to produce good fruit. In the first creation story, the writer announces, "On the 6th day, God said, and now we will make human beings." In the second creation story, the writer claims Adam was formed and placed in the Garden of Eden as the first of mankind. At a glance, the two beginnings are totally different and lends toward a great deal of pondering. I have an analysis I will build upon as I go through the Old Testament. This analysis is used in Revelation Decoded, known as prophecy of the end time. Additionally, this will be aligned with the Maya long calendar of 2012 and ancient astronomy. All 5 books of the Decoded Biblical Series will collectively bring my analysis together. Most importantly, the two creation stories give way to the idea of the beginning of two systems, politics and religion. To commence, the 7 days of creation identify and can be perceived to represent the pharaohs who brought their governing royalty to power, where they represented the many gods of antiquity. Hence, God made human beings to be like us. You will notice there is no dating available in the 7 days of creation to gauge when these human beings arrived. The timing has been left open. This can be referenced as the arrival of the gods and demigods that evolved to the first ruling human king over the whole of Egypt, Mene or Menes. This will match with Revelation. I am referencing Egypt rather than places like China or the Americas because the biblical history is centered on this location. For example, the Exodus was out of Egypt. The Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve is the introduction of monotheism. The Lord God will refer to this creation as mankind, which differs from the 7 days of creation who were called human beings. Eventually, through time, Adam and Eve is represented and dominated by religion. This will also match with Revelation, so please keep these points in mind. In short, the 7 days of creation represents politics. The Garden of Eden represents monotheism used by religion, the birth of politics and religion. The idea of monotheism, religion, would not have necessarily been readily accepted in the initial stages of godly human domination, especially during the caveman era. This early activity of man does not appear in the Bible, but neither do dinosaurs. Humanity would not have fallen victim if God had just blatantly appeared from wherever. Therefore, the introduction of the pharaohs brought the many gods concept, according to history. Eventually this was fine-tuned into the idea of a single God or single worship. The pharaoh Akhenaten of the 18th dynasty died 1336 or 1334 BCE, who was married to Queen Nefertiti, was the first in known history to commence the idea of monotheism outside the Bible. This was in worship of the sun, Aten, or Ra. The governing royals prior to the reign of Akhenaten were representatives of the many gods. Akhenaten is credited for his commitment to his wife Nefertiti. Akhenaten composed the original ancient version of the Lord's Prayer, which evolved onto and used by Christianity. I have covered the commencement of politics and religion in Revelation Decoded. This becomes the blueprint of humanity since the beginning of known recorded history. I have identified the evolution of the many gods worshipped in antiquity to the God of monotheism. Although Akhenaten's worship of the sun in an attempt for monotheism did not last, Judaism did last. Judaism's oldest surviving script of Isaiah was written in the 8th century BCE, before the Jewish exile. To fast forward to the time of the early history of Christianity, the Vatican has recorded that Christians initially worshipped the sun on the steps of St. Peter, as did Akhenaten. Constantine the Great formed the Universal Church, the Vatican, in 325 CE. Christianity became the religion of the empire, and it was then Jesus was voted in by the bishops as the Son of God. Many scriptures excluded from the Bible, considered heretical, claimed Jesus was a man. The Muslims, on the other hand, claimed their heritage from Ishmael, first son of Abraham. This was commenced after Christianity through Muhammad in 622 CE. I think that's a very powerful point, actually.
Yeah, I've often wondered about Akhenaten and the Exodus myth. I think that's probably where the archetype for Moses comes from. I suppose Akhenaten's downfall, when either him or one of his followers leading the believers out of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Now being chased out of Egypt, really.
It's very interesting because there is a history. Christians originally actually worshipped the sun, and there is actually documentation from the Vatican to say the Christians actually worshipped the sun on the steps of St. Peter's.
It's a good symbol. Anyone who's ever had a garden or grown plants knows you need the sun in order for life to survive, so it makes a good metaphor. Yeah.
Which seems interesting because Jesus was supposed to have been preached about during that time as well.
Yeah.
So there's something a little bit shady here. Okay, so thank you for joining us for this part, and please join us for the next part coming up soon.